welcome each one of you to this concluding session of the 3-day conference on online, hybrid, and e-learning. Very interesting. We are in the concluding session now. Still in the concluding session, we can see 338 participants. That's an excellent thing that at the end of the 3 days, we are not tired. Maybe we can have few more sessions, but we have to conclude this 3 days meeting. The structure of this concluding session will be Sir Professor Mukhopadhyay, he will have his word. Firstly, Professor Malhotra, he will present the overview of the conference. Maybe just a brief.
I'll announce it. There will be a photograph session. So please, at that time, don't mute your video. Mute your audio only and try smiling, even if you don't want to smile. Put on a plastic smile. Fauzia has started from now. It is not now. You can hold on. Yeah, carry on.
Okay, so Professor Malhotra will present a brief overview of the conference. I request all the participants to write your comments on the chat so that we read those chat, because if we have all of you giving your views about this conference, it will take almost 2 to 3 hours. So just write your chats and we will be speaking about those. I request.
I have a request about the chat to write in 2 ways. One is write about the conference that we're just finishing, but also write to us, what do you expect us to do in future? So that you can guide us for the future and you can tell us how to improve what we have done so far. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll request Ms. Rupa Chakravarti to make her statement if she's here. Last and not the least, we missed Mr. Anshul Sonak in the morning. He will be giving us, like, if I say, a valedictory address, but all of you, he was introduced at that time, but just one line that he is Global Director, Digital Readiness Program and Senior Director for Global AI Readiness and at Intel Corporation, Singapore. So then we will have Mr. Anshul, then Professor, followed by Professor Marma Mukhopadhyay, vote of thanks by Fauzia. So this will be the structure of it. I request Professor Malhotra for the overview report overview.
And I'll add one more, since Bina is here. Don't allow him to go away without making a statement at an appropriate occasion, maybe after Anshul. Yeah.
Okay.
Your mic is muted.
No, it is okay. Friends, I will take 5 minutes as being given to me. Oh, friends, just to tell you, I will just give an overview of the report. Friends, Education, Technology and Management Academy organized this virtual international conference on the theme Hybrid, Blended and E-Learning from 3rd to 5th December in collaboration with Association of Indian Universities and Gurgaon Progressive School Council. The Vision Lab Moscow and TIC Links Pune supported the conference as sponsors. The aim of the conference was to consolidate the learning technology enabled education from the crisis of COVID-19, especially when the technology opened education in the face of the closure of educational campuses due to the pandemic. The agenda included developing a white paper on the future of the education, visualizing technology-enabled education for quality education for all by creating a forum for practitioners to meet the global leaders in technology-integrated education and exchange of thinking towards enrichment. The conference was unique on 2 counts, friends. Firstly, in terms of participation, that is events, academic discourses, wherein 4 keynote sessions, 2 panel discussions were held by 16 internationally reputed scholars, 8 workshops by 12 expert resource persons, 15 paper presentation sessions, and 15 chairpersons for 74 papers and case studies, 31 rapporteurs and 830 participants. And average per day was more than 400 participants. Even today, you can see more than 300 participants are there. Secondly, it is really that is great that in terms of significance by developing eclectic model of education, incorporating the best of all worlds, especially when education sector is in precarious situation, they should go to whether they should go to the old norms or the new normal. The keynote address, we know in the conferences provide some direction for educators looking to harness new tools and approaches and provide administrators a choice of support that educators need. The first keynote address, my friends, was delivered by Professor Asha Singh Kanwar, President and CEO of the Commonwealth of Learning, with Professor Tony Bates, that is CEO of Tony Bates Associates Limited, in chair, to expose the participants to the world of open and distance education. Crux of the keynote addresses was that in the COVID crisis have made educators realize that many of the teaching tactics and the strategies that worked prior to the pandemic just did not work, and most of the teachers found themselves at a loss to provide a good education for their students. This has led the educators to the situation where they found themselves and their students understanding the two primary affordances of technology-enabled learning, access and flexibility, that are key for educators in making decisions about learning strategies. Furthermore, considering the holistic learning framed with community learning inquiry approach, educators could support any type of student learning experience in meaningful ways. Educators who understand technology-enabled learning and the CoLab can design and deliver authentic learning for their students, regardless of the educational settings, that is hybrid, blending, as well as e-learning. These were in line of the advice of Professor Vainakam Chennappa, Professor Mathul Alam, and Professor Nanthyal, who, while theorizing the holistic approach for technology-enabled learning with the community inquiry, Dr. Sanjay Mishra and Dr. Liv Wang, along with Professor Pankaj Mittal, analyzed the designs of teaching and assessment in the world of teaching learning and came to the conclusion that pandemic era has allowed the functionaries and beneficiaries of education system to explore the possibilities of extending the classroom in-person teaching experience to the virtual world. While entering into the virtual world, every moment of interaction provides a chance to generate data of big nature. The big data, if utilized skillfully, can give a myriad of options to get into the insights using which both teaching and learning processes can be improved. Data-led insights may be transferred to customize the process of strategic teaching and personalize the process of learning to the needs and preferences of the learners. Modern learning management system takes the help of artificial intelligence to exploit all such insights to personalize and customize the courseware as per the capabilities and learning pace of learners. Moreover, the assessment process in the content era, the assessment process in the current era also needs to become analytic oriented rather than stereotype question paper. That is what Dr. Rajesh Barnwal pointed out while looking into the artificial intelligence as disrupting almost all sectors in the learning world. Teaching and learning are not exception, therefore. Such insights may be transferred to customize the process of strategic teaching and personalize the process of learning to the needs and preferences of the learners. However, even after these technological advancements, the relevance of in-person teaching cannot be demeaned. Personal interaction during the teaching and learning process has its own place and may not be fully replaced by technology-led teaching and learning process, even in the near future. Technology like artificial intelligence, ML, and data analytics can play an assistive role that has power to substantiate the human-led teaching learning process. Thus, it is imperative to deliberate and take an informed decision for the proportion of technology-led, human-led teaching and assessment process to optimize the learner outcomes. The panelists in the various sessions concluded that local innovations, local participation, parental awareness is most important for the preschool to the university system. The blending of various teaching tactics and using the available tools and techniques in hybrid mode will lead the students and teachers in a big way to achieve the desired goal. Conference has brought home following points before the ETMA, friends. First is ETMA with the existing resources should plan for further development at the international level. This is one. Second is ETMA should focus on various issues of teaching, learning, assessment, and management by envisioning use of ICT resources for online education in schools and universities. Then thirdly, it should plan for global research in educational outcomes for the students at the school and higher education level in India in particular, and the global way in general. So therefore, friends, it is hoped that with the vision of Professor Mukhopadhyay, that ETMA will achieve the envisioned goals for the betterment of education in the country as well as abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Malhotra. Very well, precise, concise report presented. Thank you. We have almost 50 plus chats, and everyone has written very informative, very interesting, very commendable work done by ETMA. Everyone has thanked the ETMA, especially Professor Mukhopadhyay. So all good things have been written in the chat. We hope that we will get much more chats so that we can go ahead with that. Now, I request Rupa Chakravarti, Principal, to give her statement.
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon to everybody. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to be here doing a talk with the 339 people who are here with Professor Marmar Mukhopadhyay at the helm of it. I would like to begin with a Sanskrit quote which says, Marak Sarti iti sansaram. The world is ever evolving. And it needs a visionary like Dr. Mukhopadhyay to get ETMA to organize and very, very interesting, interactive, informative, engaging, inspiring words taken from everything that you're putting and enlightening conference at the international level like this one. It truly proves that the world is evolving and we all need to be alert and understand the meaning of this conference, which focused on hybrid, blended, and e-learning. If it is ideated, it will be realized. And we need to move with the times, with the challenges that are posed to us is, I think, what emerged from this conference and what I heard in the last 2 days and today being the third day. As I kind of start with my talk, I know it is time to finish, but having said that, I think I would like to add over here that we all need to become creative leaders. Creative leadership is the point that we need to walk away with, because today we are talking about blended hybrid e-learning, but the next reality, the augmented reality, the ambient computing which is coming forth is going to have our smartphones and our computers replaced, and imagination and reality are going to become one world. So I would like to end with the thought that let us all become creative leaders to ensure that this world is a better place, because ETMA, AIU, and GPSC, which I represent, the Gurgaon Progressive Schools Council, which is also the Sahodaya of Gurgaon, have been lucky to come together for this fantastic on this fantastic platform and listen to such erudite speakers. Thank you to each one who attended, and thank you, Dr. Mukhopadhyay and the team of ETMA for this fantastic session and sessions rather. And I wish we come back together again very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupa. Very important point you made, that all of us, we learn to be creative, and we need to be more creative during after this pandemic and for in our work situations. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Thank you.
Next, I'll request Anshul to come on. I think it was a blessing in disguise that we couldn't listen to him in the morning, because this will be exclusive presentation or his words of wisdom to each one of us, 344 of us. Thank you so much, Anshul.
So, thank you, Dr. Madhu, and my real apologies, Professor Mukhopadhyay, and to all of you for missing today morning session. These are some of the perils of living in a very data-driven world where you're driven by your own calendars. And if it is not on a calendar, you miss. So no excuses, my apologies, I missed it today. But really, really my honor to be here and talking to all 342 of you, as I can see. I think I can give you some reflections more from an industry standpoint on what we are seeing. I manage Intel's Global Digital Readiness, which is a global digital skilling programs worldwide, and sitting out of Singapore. I come from a rural India, so I see both realities, what technology industry and the whole future of work is moving versus what my reality back home in India is. So, and just to kind of put a disclaimer, I am a non-engineer who's Intel's first principal engineer on future of work. So I kind of try to balance that perspective on where learning is moving when the work is changing. As you may have heard a lot in last 2 days, digital transformation has really accelerated a lot after COVID. We talk about this as double disruption. I mean, the COVID as one disruption and automation as another disruption, both hitting together suddenly. What would have taken 10 years in industry has happened in less than 1 year, literally. Now, if that is the case, what happens to human skills? Digital readiness is a combination of digital skills, more trust on technology, and more responsible usage. So what happens to that? I think the way our life has changed, the way we live, the way we work, the way we play, all that has changed. A big reflection is what should change from a learning standpoint. And that is where such deliberations on what technology integrated education can do is very timely. I would give you a couple of economical arguments first, so that if somebody who's not convinced or not clear, you get it very, very mathematically and very, very rationally. Last 2 years, GDP loss for the world is around 4 to 5%. So people have lost jobs, people have lost income, so and so forth, right? Just with digital skills, technology-enabled education coming back, we are talking of in next 5 to 6 years, almost 10 to 11% economic gain. So if world economy is 100 trillion roughly, we are talking of 11.5 trillion gain by 2028. So there is no way world can avoid or world should ignore this. So that's why this is very timely, right? The GDP gain itself is going to kind of push this technology-enabled or technology-integrated education movement. Those people who are not in the bandwagon, they will fall behind. So I think there is no ifs and buts here. The question is, how do we all come together and fast track it, handhold each other and move forward? Now, in that context, there are a couple of things which are happening in the future of work, which is my topic. Work task, workforce, and workplace all has changed. Now, if I have to give you quickly one commentary on each. Work task, 50% of the world work can be automated now with today's technology. Now, with more and more technology coming in, more and work will get automated. Then you will wonder, okay, what happens to conventional jobs? And if conventional jobs change, what happens to conventional learning? That has to change faster. So that's on the work task. Workforce, almost 90 million people, almost 85 to 90 million people will be losing job by next 3 to 4 years because of all this. More. Now that is a huge economical and societal burden. But with the new digital skills coming in, there is an opportunity of another 100 to 150 million jobs coming back. The unfortunate part is it's not going to be equal. Now, it's our responsibility to really make it as ethical and as equal as possible. Otherwise, only those people who have access, tool sets will get more advantages. So for any country and education ecosystem, yeah, thank you. For any country to really have a competitive advantage, I think this is a hard time to think about it. We can't just sit in a glory that, okay, Indian boys are shining in Silicon Valley. That's good for Silicon Valley and good for America. What about my country? What about India? How do I create, somebody said, local innovation, local wealth, local jobs, local ecosystem which grows. So that is where, when this job transition happens, we have to really pay attention, which are those big skills which are driving the job changes. Artificial intelligence is one of them, and a topic of my interest. All jobs are becoming digital jobs slowly, all jobs. And all jobs, if you really map the top skills, digital skills require artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, all the skills which you heard many times. These skills will be more and more integrated in all jobs. I think there is a big misunderstanding that only the technology oriented students or a technical workforce should embrace this. That's an incomplete understanding. You will have AI researcher, you will have AI developers or AI engineers, of course, but that's going to be 1 or 2%. What about regular AI solution builders in day-to-day industry, day-to-day marketing, product management, all the regular jobs which require all kinds of human skills? So what about general AI users? So really creating that awareness, demystifying artificial intelligence, democratizing artificial intelligence across all learning functions has to be a very, very strategic choice, I would say. I would give you 3 examples of how we are accelerating. I'll give you one India example and a couple of international examples. India example, CBSE, since a lot of schools here are from CBSE, and I heard about Sahodaya. So CBSE is a good example. We started working with CBSE 3 years back, and now CBSE offers artificial intelligence as a subject across schools in India. And it's not just from a technical standpoint where you learn computer vision or machine learning or big data and all that, but also from a social skills standpoint, right? How to think about AI ethics, how to think about AI and privacy, how to think about AI and entrepreneurship. So all these non-technical social skills also to come together, right? I mean, CBSE has started this journey, and those of you who are needing any help in embracing this journey, feel free to connect with us and we'll be happy to kind of engage. Let me give you a couple of other countries examples so that you know where mainstream education is moving very quickly. I work with European Union very closely in my day job, and I was very surprised. And when I say I personally was very surprised, because I come from rural management qualification from Anand in India, and I talk about agriculture a lot. But in India, I don't see much agriculture education change. In Poland, I went into this conversation 1 year back. They were very keen to integrate artificial intelligence into agriculture vocational schools. So we started helping them. We started with 50 agriculture vocational schools, embracing AI, not just as a technical level, but at a larger farmer level, right? How AI can be helpful for productivity, for time to market, for getting better prices, all the regular thing which is helpful on a day-to-day job. They started putting that in agriculture education. And now Poland government has decided to give this to larger 2,000 vocational schools. I mean, I just sometimes just wish my country should do more things like this, not just for agriculture, because we are agriculture economy, but across all sectors, manufacturing, retail, services, where we are creating job or where we have to create more job. So education has to very smartly respond very quickly on these topics. That's the second example. A third example, which I'm very closely associated with, is in the United States. We talk about polytechnic in India, and the polytechnics probably offer more jobs than engineering, right? Because of the sheer numbers, technician and all the works, right? In United States, more than 50% of the workforce come from community colleges, which is their polytechnic equivalent. Community colleges, which is very, very grassroots level colleges, which offer all kinds of nursing, retail, manufacturing, all those jobs. And it starts at a vocational school level, which is like your grade 10 plus level, right? So it's not a hardcore segregation of K to 12 different path and a technical or a vocational path segregated. They have a model of community college. They came up with us to come up with, in US and probably in the world first time, an AI associate degree, a 2-year AI associate degree at that level. And this is for learning about AI for nursing, learning about AI for retail, manufacturing, those kind of regular education skills, which goes into polytechnics and engineering and non-engineering like bachelor degrees. So I think that was a big reflection on me that world is really moving very fast, right? The rate of change outside, right, because of technology, if that goes way beyond what we can change ourselves, the divide will only increase. And that's why what ETMA is doing, and I'm a great fan of Professor Mukhopadhyay's work on the leadership development from a holistic standpoint, is an amazing work. Work together with ETMA and all the like-minded partners to challenge your conventional notion. We keep on talking about same things about digital technologies and technology integrated education for last 20 years. But I can tell you, right, the jobs which are getting disrupted is very different than the jobs which will increase. The jobs which will increase, I mean, there's a lot of studies on this topic. Intel, from our standpoint, we do this something called fusion skill, how human and machines can collaborate. The jobs which will increase will require more trainer skill, more explainer skill, more sustainer skill. Now, all the three skills you can argue educationists have the best. So there is no reason for you to panic and really, think, oh, how do we really re-engineer? Just go, take your jump. Because you guys are the best for explainer skill, trainer skill, and sustainer skill compared to any other profession. So probably your profession is the most secured profession according to the research. But are you willing to take that lifelong learning jump? Because then you have to really change yourself first. The older days of learn to work has changed, whereby you learn school, college, work, job 1, job 2, and retire. That world has changed totally, especially after COVID. Today's time, we are, average worldwide, people will have 7 to 10 jobs, probably 4 or 5 careers. So there is no other choice but to have a lifelong learning mindset. Learnability is the biggest passport of success. If educationists, we ourselves, what we preach to the student, if we ourselves do not absorb and adopt learnability, that will not be fair to the world. It will not be fair to your students. So my humble request is be open-minded for lifelong learning. Adopt learnability. If anybody who's wanting more research or more insights on how learnability is a key as a most important passport for success, the biggest power skill, as we say, feel free to drop me a note. I'll be more than happy to share with you my insights on this. I follow that topic of value of learnability in tomorrow's career a lot. That will be the #1 passport of success. So my urge to all of you is adopt learnability. Learnability and variability and sociability, these are the 3 power skills as per the MIT research which I was just reading. I just thought I will summarize it that way. Variability and sociability, Indian by DNA, we are very good. My urge would be absorb and adopt learnability to the maximum level, role model it for yourself and for your student. Thank you so much, Professor, and everybody for giving me the chance and opportunity. And I hope to kind of stay connected.
Thank you, Anshul. And I was right, that's good that you were not there in the beginning, and it was the end session went all very well. I thought it's on your screen there, it's written Intel. And on our laptops, when we open, or our desktops, Intel is written, and I think that it is only hardware chips. But you have proved that it's more academic what you are doing it, Intel. Talking about the future of jobs, AI, and many, many more things. One of your presentations I saw, and you talked about what are the new jobs, which everyone is scared of it, that we are losing jobs. But yes, World Economic Forum also stated that they are going to come with automation rather than with what we are losing. Once again, I thank you so much for this brilliant presentation, touching on various themes from GDP to AI to future of work. Thank you. Now I request Professor Chinnappa for his statement.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was asked by Professor Mukhopadhyay to say a few words because I was not on the program for this session, but anyhow, I have followed with great interest what is happening during these 3 days, and I have 3 to 4 words to qualify.
Friends don't spare friends.
I would like, as I said, I have 5 keywords to qualify the great success of such an important international conference, the ETMA 2021. First word is unique. It is unique in the field of educational technology, bringing together so many people and very outstanding speakers. But what was more actually instrumental for us is to hear the voices of these young researchers all over India, how they want to share, even the little they are doing in their research. They are so motivated to share it with the big groups sitting internationally and in big privileged places like myself over the years. That was the uniqueness one. The second thing is very enriching because I think we give a good start with introducing the famous book of Professor Mukhopadhyay, which is, to me, an encyclopedia for addressing all problems of educational technology, to learn about what exists in the theories and frameworks and also the takeaways there. Very enlightening indeed, these sessions, because you can see a good mixing of policymakers, of researchers, or people from the civil society expressing their concern. And for me, normally when we have such big international conference, now I take my 2 hats. The hats of the UN, which I've served for many, many years in the UN, in UNESCO, a high-level position, and then in the academia, which I've served for many, many years as well. You see, when we have such an interesting conference, we ask the question, so what? So what? I mean, what is next? And there we call upon really, really very constructive, I would say, suggestions and recommendations to go to actions. There is always a lack of actions. What is happening to teaching and learning? How our results, our findings, our recommendations would serve to address, for example, as Professor Mukhopadhyay mentioned this morning, we don't look at outputs. The input-output models have already disappeared. Now we talk about outcomes and impacts. And outcomes are very important. And even at UNESCO or in the academia, in research, we do not say, we don't start by objectives. We start with expected outcome. Then flow the other things. So this mindset, this change in itself, reinforce the whole aspect of to be action-oriented and not, I usually use an acronym, NATO, no action, talk only, which actually qualifies what has happened for centuries and decades. The other element I would like to add in this is that with the leadership of Professor Mukhopadhyay, there is a combination taking place. Maybe we have not noticed. I will say it now as he's listening. He combines the brain with the heart. That is a big, big thing one can do. When you use your knowledge, your brain, but also you put the heart behind it. I mean, being his background, a village teacher, so he can group and make people work together because he's not only functioning on one aspect of the humankind, but these two combination is very important. When you look at research and everything, you find that there is always a tendency, what I call the pop culture, publish or perish. That is not enough. We have to have actions. And another element I would like to add is we in the educational community, in the research community, we don't know how to communicate well with those who are supposed to assist and to implement what we recommend. Mainly, in this case, I will take up the importance of liaising with the business community. The academia does not know how to liaise with the business community, and mainly in our field. In the natural sciences and other sciences, that works well. But in the social sciences in general, we are very distant for those who can help us to implement our good results, our finding, and so on. So I would say for me, I've learned a lot. I've sent already my recommendation to be connected to Stockholm University and to my powerful networks, having worked for UNESCO and the academia for the past 45 years. And we can engineer, because inclusiveness is not only a term and a concept. If you look what is happening worldwide, there is a big discrepancy. If you're not an Anglo-Saxon speaking fellow, you don't exist in the first place. In big conferences, in big organizations like the OECD, if you don't belong to the Northern Hemisphere, you don't exist. And this discrepancy exists still. And we hope that with this leadership of Professor Mukhopadhyay and others, we can bring together those who have been always excluded in the discourse, excluded in the field of actions, and unfortunately penalized for not belong to that group who run the world. So think globally, that we do always, but we have to act locally as well to bring the two together. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to have joined this ETMA conference, and also we are launching now through the ETMA networks to deal with emotional well-being. It's a very important concept, which I will, Professor Mukhopadhyay and our team will be working together. Thank you very much, and take good care of yourself in India and all over the world.
So thank you, Professor Chinnappa. Yes, very important points. The last point is very important, that you are going to have this ETMA network. Look forward to that. Now I request Sir Professor Mukhopadhyay for his final takeaways or comments of this 3-day workshop. However, the conference rather. However, he was the brain behind it. So let's have what his experience is, what we get from the 3 days.
The point I was making, that when you look at these kind of conferences and the technology-enabled learning, whatever you use word, flipped learning, blended learning, hybrid learning, e-learning, technology-enabled learning, last word is learning. So the question is learning, rest are all means. During the last couple of months, I've been reading on the issue of blended learning and this kind of learning because it is coming. I hardly came across a literature which talks about learning per se and the quality of learning. When you look at quality of learning, one way is you take the taxonomic structure of Benjamin Bloom or David Merrill or Biggs and Collis. Another is you take the route given by Robert Kozma, from basic education to acquiring education to deepening education, which both Anshul and in different ways. Technology is a tool. It's not a replacement of any human being at all. I've been all the time telling artificial intelligence. Intelligence is qualified by a word called artificial and not natural. So natural intelligence will always be there to create artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence will not be able to create the natural intelligence. Question today is, how do we use all these developments to ensure that our younger generation, 21st century learners become lifelong self-learner, which Anshul has emphasized with the word learnability. Barry Zimmerman's very important work is about self-regulated learning. In fact, most of us who are at the fag end of our not only career, but also the life, how we are learning. We are learning because we have developed the skill of automated self-learning. So important point today that we want to carry home is not to fear technology that it will take over. It will not take over. Very simple thing is, you will see that we learn whatever you want to learn or whatever you like to learn. Like is the affective domain. Learning is a cognition of human nature. If you were asked a question, who inspired you? And the response was mother. Mother is affectionately, affectively strong. So father's cognitive strength did not stand the test of greatness. We need to understand that combination of emotive aspect with cognitive aspect is a necessary condition. And that is exactly where, if we are able to hand over some of the routine cognitive functions to technology, I've seen it, I've practiced it widely. What a student can learn, I've made many films myself. What a student can learn in a 10-minute video. As a school teacher, I used to take 3 to 4 periods. And in 10 minutes, they learn much better. What we call curriculum coverage, really free. My 3 periods are completely free to do a lot of other exercises. And especially when you ask them to get into web research, many people will talk about we don't have access to technology, fair enough. If 40% doesn't have access to technology, should we stop 60% not to do it? World civilization has been moved by less than 3% people. And they are the talent, they are the gifted people. In the empathy for those who don't have, what we do is we stop those who have. Entire world literature is very clear. Classroom lectures are addressed to the average. And then people talk about remedial learning. You have hardly come across a word enriching learning for the gifted. Technology has that advantage. It can take care of the average. It can feed to the gifted, and it can also support those who are lacking behind. Because as all of us during this conversation we have talked about, it is not necessary that Vinay and I have to learn at the same speed, same thing. Vinay can learn at his own speed mathematics. I can learn at my own speed English literature. Vinay can be outstanding in mathematics, I can be outstanding in English literature. And we still can be friends rather than fighting with each other. So the important point today that we are talking about, what the pandemic has done to us is a great help. The shyness of technology, the resistance to technology, the enmity with technology, we have learned that we only need to know. I often give an example. And if we take a carrot and a peeler, I might peel my finger rather than the carrot. It is not because of the peeler, it is because of my inability. So technology, and we need to develop technological skill. And let me assure you, with my village work, you don't need trainer to develop technological skill. You need to allow children or the students to play with technology. That play is enough an opportunity for them to build up their own way of learning. Otherwise, we teach them how to do it. I remember an instance, I went to Raipur for somebody's marriage, and I was staying in somebody's house as a guest. And all of a sudden in the morning, a 2-year-old child straight from bathroom with water dripping all over ran to me and picked up my telephone and started teaching me how this come, let me mop you up. Then you can teach, uncle. My own telephone, she is teaching me how to. We don't believe that we don't need to teach them. By the process of teaching, we are actually hampering on that. It has taken us 3 days, and even on the third day, last moment, more than 300 people are still. Now that Binay has often told about what next, let me see whether I can share one small a kind of proposed conference resolution. I hope it is visible to all of you. This international conference brought together experts, budding scholars, educators, education policy makers, and planners from several countries in the world. The conference resolves that the discourse was very relevant and useful. I had written it before seeing the chat. Now I get the confidence that what I wrote is not wrong. Once again stands at another crossroads. As education once again stands at another crossroads of human history, this conference should be followed up with similar global, rich, high-quality deliberations. Because to me, end of the pandemic is not going to take us to destination, it is going to put us another crossroads. Technology integrated education with wide variations of models has made inroads into education. There is a need to undertake rigorous research to and especially 3 days period in the morning. We have a lot of activity, a lot of output, but what is the outcome? It's a very serious question which UNESCO called OECD has been talking about. There are a lot of impromptu technology-enabled learning models innovated and developed under compelling condition due to closer physical campuses. My interaction with schools have given a very beautiful learning. They actually do not know the pedagogy of online education, but they invented themselves what to do and how to do. And I think this needs to be documented and recorded because many of them are not only sound, but extremely innovative. Due to closer physics and due to pandemic needs documentation and careful study. ETMA should continue to take the initiative and lead in research and innovation in technology-enabled learning and contingent pedagogical responses without technology in rural areas, document and disseminate. I come from the rural area and I work with about 35 schools. You can't believe the kind of innovation they have done. No technology, but they have innovated, and believe me, these 35 schools that we have in our various cluster has never stopped educating children. It should collaborate with major Indian and international organizations for facilitating knowledge management and dissemination to further the cause of quality of learning with technology integration. And our new dimension will be the emotional well-being, because that is one of the things that is being seriously questioned in the domain of online education. I'll stop sharing this. This is just a proposal. If anybody has a suggestion to add or improve the resolution, you are most welcome.
Thank you, sir. We will try to have all what sir said in the record. We will try to send the recording, the YouTube, because in between we were not able to, because of the bandwidth, we were not able to listen to him completely. But thank you so much. The last part of this 3 days conference is the vote of thanks. Vote of thanks is not a ritual. Many people, they do it, but we really sincerely thank each one of you. For that, I invite Professor Fawzia to propose that.
Thank you, Professor Madhu. And yes, as you very rightly said, it's not a ritual. It comes straight from the heart. And there are so many people to thank as we come to the conclusion of these very, very fruitful 3 days. So I would like to begin by thanking the collaborators of ETMA, the Association of Indian Universities and the Gurgaon Progressive Schools Council for collaborating with ETMA and making this 3-day conference happen and so successfully. I also want to thank the keynote speakers, Professor Asha Kavar, Professor Vinayagam Chinnappa, Dr. Nathaniel Otashkiewski, and Dr. Libing Wang for their very fruitful contributions. Their chairpersons also need to be thanked very sincerely, Professor Tony Bates, Professor Matiul Alam, Dr. Sanjay Mishra, and Professor Pankaj Mittal. I also want to thank the resource persons for the workshops, Professor M.M. Pant, Professor Shugoto Mitra, Mr. Kapil Singh Muradia, Dr. Indra Koneru, and Dr. Ramesh Sharma, Professor Pushpanadam, Professor Malhotra, Professor Renu, Mr. Sachin Sharma, for so wonderfully conducting these workshops. We had 15 sessions of paper presentations, and I want to thank each chairman of these sessions. I have just thanked Professor Renu Nanda and Professor Malhotra. I also want to thank Professor Pushpanadam, Professor Harichandan, Professor Amrut, Professor Sudesh Mukhopadhyay, Professor Shomen, Professor Amit Kotz, and Professor P.K. Sahu, Professor Debnath, Professor Debashri Banerjee, Dr. Indu Khetrapal, and Professor Madhu Parhar. I also want to thank the panelists, Dr. Vineet Joshi, Mr. Anshul for the afternoon session also, and Dr. Rajesh Baranwal, the chairperson, Mr. Manish Gupta, and Dr. Som Naidu, Dr. Indra Koneru once again, Professor Amrendra Behera, and Madhu, my dear friend and chairperson of this panel discussion. And we were greatly helped by all the rapporteurs, and I wish to thank them. I hope I don't miss out any name. It's a sincere thanks to each one of them. Mrinal Mukherjee, Arnab Kundu, Pallavi Khedkar, Ashish Mishra. Then we have Zehra Kazmi, Richa Prasad, Anna Bali, Sheetal Sharma, Chanchal Methi, Shazia Noshin, Deepika Kohli, Renu Vij, Vaiza Tazeen, Tosif Vishwas, Ambika Sharma, Pankti Surve, Mr. Dinesh G and Nirmala A, Banashri Mondal, Rama Gupta, Dr. Minakshi Vij, Mr. Maninder Singh, and also Dr. Shweta Tripathi, Mr. Jugender Mishra. Thanks all of you for your report writing, because in sessions ki report was a very hectic process. I also want to thank Mrityunjoy and Chandan. We all have talked about technology. They have made it happen. So sincere thanks to everybody. And finally, the protagonist of this 3-day conference, Professor Mukhopadhyay. I don't know if I say thank you, it sounds very inadequate. No, please let me, sir.
Thank Fauzia.
No, wait, let me thank you na pehle, please. So if I thank you, then it sounds very inadequate. And if I say something else, it sounds chota muh badi baat. But sir, every moment is a learning experience. I know to you it must be a cliche now, but I think from all 338 of us who are present at this moment, a sincere thank you. And hopefully ETMA is now soon going to be ETMA International also. And thank you all so much for patiently hearing me out. Thanks a lot. Thank you. All the participants and all the people involved with the organization.
Before we close, as I said, there will be photograph session.
Yes, let me.
And can I call Chandan and Mrityunjay to come on the screen, please? Because when you make much of recommendation, I want to show the strength of ETMA. Mrityunjay is one. Chandan, where are you?
Yes, sir. I'm there. Educational Technology and Management Academy.
Call Vivek also.
Why? I can't see you. Okay. And Vivek? So, now, don't laugh that this big organization has happened with one Dr. Mrityunjay academic, one Chandan, who is a technologist, and one Mr. Vivek, who takes care of them and us. That's what ETMA is all about. But yes, it is possible, because at our invitation and request, I often say it's very difficult to say no, whether it is Professor Fauzia or Professor Chinappa or Professor Mrs. Mukhopadhyay or Ramesh Sharma, we call, they are here. There's a lot of support around.
I wish each one of you a very, very prosperous, safe, and healthy 2022. Maybe we will not meet in this way, but individually we will be connecting. Stay safe. The new virus is maybe, according to the media, knocking at the door, but stay safe in the new year. Thank you.